And we're live. Well, not really. I mean that. Simple as this. When I record a stream, no matter how well intentioned I mean to be, don't play the whole white squeeze. I'm not live. I'm live at the moment when I record it. It's my live thoughts at that time. But the fact, the truth be known is, this is very much a recording because I'm not really giving it to you when we put it out. So, anyway, the story so far. I was busy doing some work. I also do advertising to make extra money. I do what I can, like everybody. It's tough times. It's been going like this for a while now. I'm currently on disability support, so limits my income sources, and it also limits my opportunities. So this is why I'm here, to be in a position where I can become my own boss, where I can use my influence, ideas, and platform to encourage, educate, inform, communicate, be part of a community of people. Uh, as you know, the computer industry is the way it is. I was born to be in computers. I literally don't know why I wanted to be. I was growing up. Knew I had a very intelligent. I was a very intelligent person. I just didn't know where I belonged or what my path would be in life, and I had to find my path. Unfortunately, um, it took me a long time to figure out what my path was. I still haven't figured totally where my path is because I realize now that it was so broad. I could have made so many different ways, strokes, and it was very difficult. I didn't have parents to encourage me to go in a particular direction. They didn't know where to go. Um, Speaking of which, it's better to go. I'll put my mic in front so people can actually hear it. There we go. There we go. Speaking of where I'm going, can you hear me now? I'm going to put this down a bit. Okay, we're back again. Okay. Anyway, it's Mike. It's been a while since I've been here. I apologize for that. I apologize for the fact that I haven't been as attentive to the small audience I have, and hopefully eventually maybe that small audience will give me a chance and give me a larger audience. Anyway, what are we talking about these days? What are we talking about? I mean, I watch YouTube all the time. I watch all kinds of content of various stripes from all political sides of the equation, from all different points of view and opinions. And it's an interesting concatenate of things that are going on. The one thing we all know is that there's some reality truths that we have. No matter what politics you are, no matter what you are as a person, no matter what your beliefs about things are, there's some truths about the world. Truth number one, things are costing more. Now, I don't care whether or not you believe it's because it's just the way natural things are supposed to go, or it's because in this case we're having, I believe, forces of people that are artificially inflating and playing with numbers for whatever reason we don't know 100%. We can speculate. I mean, many people have. Um, then we have the thing that keeps going around that they see as the motivation for a lot of this was the climate change. Well, you know what? I got some bad news for the climate change people. The climate changes all the time. We're on a dynamic planet. We're going to change. The climate's going to constantly change. We don't know how much it's constantly going to change over time. We really don't know anything. We live here on this planet that lasted millions of years, all according to some of the Bible people, say even 5 or 6. How do they know what they say about the other group? It's like each group is saying the same thing, but basically make a different point. Because the fact is, let's face it, we don't 100% know either way which has been the truth. Because let's face it, none of us have been around long enough. As a species, we only know that our history in current time, in terms of like our being able to document history to any sort of reliability in terms of time, it's only been a couple thousand years in this current generation of human beings. We know that there have been human civilizations before that, at least according to what has been documented. But over time, because the ability to record information and to pass history on, and the reliability of those sources, and whether they're first-hand, second-hand, or third-hand, is quite honestly very disputable. We don't 100% know definitively, which is why documents like the Bible are such hotly debated documents. There's some people who believe that it's the gospel truth of everything. 100%. Take it on faith. It's gotta be. And anyone that doesn't think that is a crazy zealot or whatever they want to call anyone that doesn't believe that thing. And there's other groups of people that say you're crazy to believe that because there's no definitive proof that these documents have any sort of historical context other than the fact that they're stories told by people over time who, as we know, stories, they always get embellished, they always get changed, they always get altered, and we don't know whether or not there's any truth to the stories or even how much of it really is true. because some of the things have been embellished. We know they're embellished. We know that people have the tendency to embellish things. It's on our human nature to embellish. We can't help ourselves but to embellish. Because our memories are short, and obviously because we're telling stories, we want to make the stories interesting. So we don't always remember all the details. So the details we remember them as well as we can, and then we pass it on. The next person takes it, and who knows what they do to the story. We don't know how badly the stories have been altered over time, what is really true and what's really been exaggerated, and whatever we don't know. But we know things happened, or they believe they were happened, and people report them over time, and they've been spread over time and disseminated. We do know that. We don't know how true they are, and let's face it, we probably will know 100% true they were. But there's going to be people that are going to accept them as truth and base their whole narrative on them. That goes the same for the people in the climate camp. They've been predicting climate disaster for the last couple hundred years, maybe longer. We've always had this one generation of people saying, hey, the world's falling apart on a certain date, and then it doesn't fall apart, and the group of people sitting on the island saying, hey, look, you professed it's going to fall apart, it hasn't. What the hell do you know about anything? So it does actually type into the credibility of these types of people that make these types of claims, because the fact is, what's happened is a lot of them have come on and said, hey, we know that things are changing. We know that we as human beings affect the planet in some way. We do. Our own actions, or sometimes inactions, are just as deadly as anything else that happens. The question is, to what extent, and to what extent is it personal responsibility? How much extent is it group responsibility? How can we reconcile the fact that group responsibility and personal responsibility should have to go hand in hand? There's going to be some major structural changes in how we do society in order to influence some of the changes we have to do in terms of making this place a better place. But the thing is, where do we put our efforts, and where we're going to get the best bang for it, and what are the things that are actually going to make the most sense to do? And of course, there's a group of people that are saying that, oh, it's gasoline cars. Oh, we stop burning gasoline, start burning fossil fuels. The carbon's gonna, the CO2's gonna save the planet, the sun's gonna save. But what about the rest of the planet? Even if that was the only thing that was wrong, or even we see the other thing, what about the rest of things going right? All the plastic pollution in the oceans, all the chemicals we're using that go into that we created to try or attempt to make this world the way that we engineered. The environment we're stealing from animals in terms of the animals being killed every year and forced in smaller and smaller places because we have to keep building and building and building. It's sort of cross purposes. On one side, I'm all for building more houses for all the people we have, but at the same time, I'm also kind of torn because the fact is, when we do that, we're actually making the planet worse for the many animals that do exist here. The thing is, where is the balance between how many people are too many people, how much civilization is too much civilization? What is that equilibrium balance that makes everything work and then makes everyone happy as well as makes the universe happy? What systemic changes we have to do in terms of attitudes, in terms of how we do capitalism? Is capitalism the system that we need to do? Is it going to last into the 21st and 23rd centuries? It's already in the 21st century. How long is it going to last in the 21st century? How long can you sustain such a system under the current way that the world is working and still have some sort of meaningful change in the world? We really don't know. We don't know. We know communism doesn't work because the problem with communism is it's flawed by the very nature that human beings are innately greedy. And even with a system that proves as true altruism that's supposed to be equal to everyone, there's no such thing as equal to everyone, because once you start putting people in charge of things, then that's where you start going wrong. Especially when you give them ultimate unlimited power where there's nobody to question them. At least in a democracy, there's the appearance of that sort of system that people have a limited amount of power they have, and that people have to keep asking the people, the greater group of people in that constituency, whether or not they deserve to have further power, whether or not they're going the right direction that most of society believes they need to go on the majority of things that need to be done. And at least that does something. It may not be a perfect system, but at least it's a better system than having one guy run everything and have a succession of power, much like the monarchy were before. All you would do when you put communism, instead of having the kings run this thing, you report someone that sort of runs up the system of whatever the social structure of the government is, or whatever government you form, and all of a sudden runs to the top through whatever power plays and manipulation and all those types of things they do, and becomes head of the thing. Does that make him any better, him or her? In this case, could be female. Eventually, in some countries it is female. Would him or her any better than any other system, including a monarchy system where the person appoints himself just by the basis of being a family that at one point in time may have defended the large group of people, and because of that, claimed the right to continue to rule over them in perpetuity as long as they live. Even though they may not do that function anymore, even though their assumptions no longer require them anymore, do they have that imperative to still have control and power based on that inheritance? Is inheritance enough? Is the function and relevance of them to the inheritance? Do they still deserve the benefit of? Does these people still deserve the worthy of the benefit of being able to rule over others based on a previous act long time ago by their family and sisters, who are supposed to carry on this covenant now, and that part of the covenant is they pay back to you, and the tribute you pay back to them in order to do this covenant, the sort of social contract that this sort of implies in the society. This type of social contract structure has always existed. Anytime you had somebody running for something, every time the social contract was implied that this person was given the trust of the people through some sort of means to do certain things for the people in exchange for them being the one that's authority. That's the way we had to run things all the time, because you can't run things by committee in every issue. It doesn't work. I mean, literally, that's what happened in America. When America formed it, when the Revolution came, they formed the Constitution, they formed the Congress, and all the stuff they had. When they did the first essence of democracy, they attempted to do it that way. A vote by committee. You have a representative that you voted on every issue that came along. One vote, one issue. Well, and the thing was, the people would go with the majority. The problem with that is very quickly people found that they were lazy. They didn't want to have to go around and take on every issue, root around all the people within this particular conclave of people, and every single time have to go about asking them and begging them, please vote, I got this issue I want to put, please vote for my issue because I want to get support for it. So people take shortcuts, and the shortcut that the ultimate took, which is applied to every single democratic system around, is the creation of a group known as a party. And what a party is a parlance of people. Well, it seems like a Peter Parker picked the pepper type of question. It does, doesn't it? Anyway, it's a parlance or a group of people who have a collective issue or issues or a collective agenda that they feel that they can come together on and fast track the process of voting for things that are most dear to them by voting as a collective group, so they can streamline the whole process of the process of governance, because it can get very tedious if you go by every issue at a time and have to vote a single time. The unfortunate consequence of this party system is that a lot of times it's come to the point where it's been so badly corrupted that now you have these bills, or what they call these collective measures, that both the parties in the United States and all other parties in Canada and everyone will put out to the whatever collective parliament or elected government that is, whatever system they're in, with the intent of putting together a bunch of things at once. But the problem is, a lot of people realize that since nobody has enough time to read these documents, because they become very massive documents, and if you listen to stories about them from some American congressmen and senators about these documents being tabled, how extensive these documents are, and the amount of limited time they have to go through these documents to determine what it is they're voting on, besides the main issue that's supposed to be the main container for this particular package of legislation. They find that a lot of times there's things stuck in there because the parties sometimes want to do, they have some sacred cows they want to go through, and they know there's no way they'll ever get them through if they were to just put them on the table as they were, as an individual issue, because there's not enough people to support them. It's a very fringe issue, and they want to get, and since they have power, they figure they can use the power and the influence of power to sort of usurp the process by slipping things in through the back door that know that the chances are, since they're so far back in the pitch of legislation, the people will only read the main part, they'll catch the highlights, they'll read the cold notes of it, but they won't read the meat of it. And because they don't read the meat of it, because they don't have enough time or interest or both, a lot of times they end up voting in things that are part and parcel of these bills that have virtually nothing to do with the original bill and title, but absolutely have all kinds of repercussions to the society as a whole by introducing things unintentionally that the people that voted for these bills might not even agree with. They have no agreement with them all, but the thing is that since they're voting for this bill and they're expected to do a certain amount of work, and there's obviously discussions about the main parts of the thing, and there's amendments and such, and they get through, there's a lot of times they piggyback things on there that have nothing to do with the issue at hand or issues at hand regards this particular bill, who end up getting passed only by the virtue that nobody actually reads the bills and they even admit so. And then until they find out later, oh my God, we voted for this thing as well. That thing we didn't want, that we definitely wanted, the other party who's now in power slipped it through the back door. They Trojan horsed it. And this happens a lot in politics. The Trojan horsing of things on top of other things. Or saying things like, oh, this is not going to affect this, even though you pointed out very plainly that it says literally that it's going to affect this, and in very plain language it is, to the certain extent that they can put in plain language. That's another problem. These documents are written much in legalese. They're designed to be written for lawyers, not written for the average ordinary Joe, which is ultimately the people that are going to be enrolled by these laws, which is the ironic thing. But because you have this sort of permanent proper legal system, right, that has to be put in legalese, and because of that being done that way, to make things so damn complicated, because of that type of thing happening, a lot of times things are made in such a way that people don't understand the implications until they become law, until we have to. And then, of course, now you have to take it and make the people that have to administer these new laws, the courts, the police, law enforcement in general, and in case regulatory, but in the case of the latest one, C11, CRTC, the CRTC has to determine a lot of things. There's a bunch of things that they state generalities in terms of what their agenda and their objectives are for it. But then somebody has to go along and interpret exactly what the specifics of these things are. The specifics are never worked out. Sometimes very much on purpose, because there's ulterior motives to it. Political, biased ones, very partisan motives, which is the whole idea that not supposed to be in bills. Bills are not supposed to be partisan. They're supposed to be for people, all the people, not just one group of people. Not just meant to protect one group of people over another group of people, but for everyone to apply, where everyone has equal access to the law and knows exactly where the lines are drawn and knows exactly where you're going over the lines. And then society has to agree where the lines are, so that it's mutually beneficial, so that people have the right to have the freedom to maybe express their opinions, but there's limits on the expression of opinions. And that is what happens, what's supposed to happen in the way of law in this country and other countries in the world. Yes, also, what was I going to talk about? I was thinking about a lot of things. One of the things I was going to talk about, I have a sort of mini-series on sort of planning indirectly and starting sort of ideas on about market capitalism. What market capitalism is and what it really represents and how we got here and sort of the origins of how this whole system eventually came about from the way back before we did this type of thing to what modern capitalism is, what it represents, what the pitfalls are, what the pluses are, where the areas we may be able to improve modern capitalism to make it a more effective, fairer force, and the fact is how international trade and diplomacy and labor and the complexities of that, and the complexities of countries that have and have not nations, and how that complexity is played in to make the system very much a rigged system to some degree, where some groups are advantaged by it and some groups are disadvantaged by it, and in the end, who wins and who loses by that type of thing, and why it matters. So there's a lot to discuss, lots of stuff to discuss, and a lot of stuff I want to talk about. A lot of it's very relevant to the way the world is working right now. A lot of it is very thought-provoking. I don't want to be the only one to express an opinion. I want to just give you my 2 cents, my 2 loonies in this case. I call it my 2 loonies on purpose. I mean, people talk of the expression "my 2 cents worth." Well, we know that with inflation, 2 cents is not worth a hell of a lot. So I'm using a sort of more Canadian reference. Now, there's people in the States that may not get what a loonie is. A loonie is a coin, a dollar coin, with a lunar picture with the cane symbol we put on the picture coin, that, and because of that, it came affectionately known as a loonie. And we have another coin that's a $2 coin, and they basically called it a toonie. And so my mom was talking about if they made a $5 coin, they called it the Finoonie. That's just what she thought would maybe a cute thing to call. But I eventually think they will probably be a $5 coin, as they're attempting to make coins of everything, because coins are more durable if you're going to carry still currency. If you're still going to carry fiat currency in a physical form, you're going to have to make it so it's efficient, cost-effective, and durable, and whatever compromises that. But the thing that's the problem with that is that's another thing that's happening. The fact that fiat currency is changing in nature. The fact that we've become a digital, very much as a society. Most people don't even get to see their paychecks anymore. Most people don't ever come to the bank and take their actual cash to the bank and use it to pay bills anymore. Most of the times we play with our banking in the banks, and the banks know it, and the banks make a lot of money off this. Hence why they've got all these service packages. They know that they got our money captured, and the thing is, they know they need to have our money captured because little known fact, and like I said, I found this out a couple of years ago. I thought it was really, really bizarre. I never really noticed, and I didn't realize this. Every 10 cents, or every dollar of money that's in the bank, that's actually deposited in the bank and stays in the bank is allowed to lend 10 times its value. Now, for most of us, we didn't even realize that. Why banks are so anxious to get us to keep our money here. And the sad part is, the strange thing about it is they don't pay that much in interest. They pay a ridiculous pittance in interest for us to do this privilege, and then they charge us all these ridiculous punitive fees for managing money, which is why the upcoming of all these free types of accounts are made that I'm participating in as well myself, because the fact is, let's face it, the fact is the bank is making already enough money off me. Why do I have to pay more on top of that? Of course, the thing is then, also again, the reason I have some accounts that do pay for it, because the convenience of things that the bank does still do for those fees, like for example, have a physical branch, bricks and mortar branch, and a physical teller to deal with, whereas most of these free accounts typically have neither of the two, or have hybrids of that. Like for example, I'll go to the Bank of Montreal, and I had one free account that literally I could deposit money in to a physical teller, but if I wanted to withdraw money, I had to pay a fee per transaction, sort of a way making up for the fact that I wasn't paying for the service outright. Anyway, they didn't mind me putting money in for free. They just didn't want me to take. They wanted to make it less attractive for me to take money directly from it. I can take it out from the ATM. I can write a check and do these things, but I couldn't physically take it up because it means I'm taking up a physical teller, and it's a convenience service. And the fact is that could be used for their paying customers, of which I wasn't one. So they make me a paying customer by the virtue of me having to pay them for the service of doing that. At least up to recently, I had to do that. So there's lots of stuff to come. Pat, this channel has lots of room to go. I had a lot of ideas for stories a long time ago that I wanted to talk about. I just got around to them. I'm attempting to get my life straightened out here. I mean, like all of us, we are works in progress. We are going through this journey of life together, and we have our tough times sometimes. We have struggles. I mean, like last 2 years with COVID became a lot of struggle for all of us. Many of us were struggling more than others. But here's the thing about it. Most of the masses tend to be in the same boat. It's the rich and the elite that don't get to be in the same boat. The rich and elite have ways to work around anything that the rest of us have to endure. It's funny like that. The fact the rest of us have to endure all these hardships, and we're forced to endure hardships for our greater good. We're the diseased ones. We're the ones that have to. Yeah, you see all these pictures of people all the time flying to different countries during COVID, taking vacations on COVID, going to restaurants without masks during COVID, and all kinds of ultimate silliness. And the thing is, as long as they think nobody's seeing them, as long as they think they'll never be caught, they'll continue to do this type of silliness all the time. It's like any sort of pyramid of power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It truly does. So we need to never ever give too many people absolute power or anything, because ultimately absolute power is not the right. Even though you have to have leaders, you need to build in some very, very powerful accountability things where you have people looking over the shoulders. We need to police our leaders just like we have to police anybody else in society, because anyone that is not policed by the society will ultimately take advantage and abuse the privileges that they're given to them. And we should have limits in terms of ways to keep them in check where we can remove them. Right now, I think the one thing we don't have in Canada is recall election rules and rules of impeachment or some sort of process that we can sort of censure or remove unwanted leaders when they do cross the line of ethical things and abuse the very power that we've entrusted them with. We don't have that in Canada. It's unfortunate. And this type of thing is going to probably happen again. It doesn't necessarily have to be a liberal. It could be a conservative. It could be any member of parliament who feels that they are more entitled to something more than the rest of us, and just chooses to abuse their power. And we have no real mechanism of getting out, because it's like you can't have the fox run the henhouse. And that's kind of what's happening now. The fox is running the henhouse. As long as the fox runs the henhouse, the fox will run the henhouse the way the fox wants to run it. And we have to figure a way of getting rid of him. Or her. See, it could be her. That's the thing, okay? I'm not ever going to say that men and women are not equal in terms of their ability to potentially be in power and to potentially fuck up and to eventually be corrupted by power. We can all be that way. But the aspirations of both genders have been up to the centuries very, very different, based on the fact that biologically we have biological drives that determine exactly what we do for most of us. Now, some tend to not follow those directives for whatever reason. They walk their own path, and that, hey, that's I say, don't do you. But don't tell me just because you walk a different path that the fact I can't say that the majority of the people tend to follow the paths that our biology leads us to. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Literally, that's the thing. We wouldn't be here if the biology didn't speak for us and follow a certain general path behavior for the majority of us. The ones that tend to spread out and do their thing, whether it's because of biological reasons or just their own personal preference, they can do them, but ultimately the consequence of them doing them may be that they may not be around again under normal circumstances to carry on after their death, after their demise. That's the consequence of my actions or something. I mean, I didn't choose not to want to have kids. I want to. It didn't happen. It's too bad. Maybe some people might not think that, but I think it is. But it's just the very nature of life. I mean, we all make choices. We all have consequences to every choice we made. I made some really good choices in life. I made some very terrible choices in life. Either way, it doesn't matter. The fact is, at the end of the day, I have to live with the consequences of all those choices and die with the consequences one day. And in the meantime, I just make the best of what I can. I just do the best I can, just like everyone. And the really thing that makes me laugh, ironically, is we have people around saying, "Oh, I'm not judgmental." But you know what? I found the one thing about life that makes perfect logical sense in life is anyone that has to insist or has to tell you they're not a certain way is. Because the question is, are they attempting to convince you, themselves, or worse, both? I don't have to say I'm this or that. I will hopefully be able to demonstrate whether my intentions are by my own actions and what I do and how I conduct myself. And I don't always connect myself in the greatest light. I know there's times that I could have done better. There's no times that I should do better. I still have lessons to learn. But the thing, at the end of the day, I hope to be able to leave a better world behind than it was before I came here. So that at least my contribution, I made a difference in some way. In the end, no matter all the good and bad, I made more of a positive contribution than a negative one. That's the best all we can ask for. That's the best anyone can ask for. So, like I said, again, I'm back. Like I said, I've got lots of things I want to talk about. There's lots of discussions. I'm hoping to become more regular at this thing as I become a better person in my life, become more active, become more healthy, become more in the present, being more involved, more aware, spend more time living my life and living a better quality life and making a better life balance and making it so that I can be the best person I can be for all the people that matter in my life, not just myself, and I can be present for the people I need to be present for. And you're part of the people I'm going to be present for. I want to be present for you because, let's face it, I love doing this. I really love doing this. I just would love to be able to talk to some people. Maybe sometime we'll have some people finally come on this channel, come on to do a podcast. Maybe do some live. Hope we do some live podcasts. I would love to do a live podcast and just hang it out there and just go over the flow. Because let's face it, I do these recordings literally like they're live. I do not ever edit them. I've never edited a recording yet. Some people say, "Oh, you're supposed to edit." A lot of these people edit their recordings all the time. They have scripts and all that. I have no script. I have no supervisors. I just have me, my ideas, whatever comes off the top of my head, whatever I'm thinking about at the moment. That just happens to be what I talk about. And I would love to have it where other people engage in conversation, where maybe they can help lead the conversation and maybe take it into different directions or give me different perspectives that I didn't even realize were out there about things. Give me some sort of insight to where I might be going wrong in things and what things I can change in terms of my attitude in life about things. So this is the journey, and I hope you come along with me. Join me on my journey as I attempt to become a better human being and maybe make a few of you better human beings as well. Anyway, that's all for this recording, but like I said, this is maybe a longer one than I anticipated. I hope to get back on my regular schedule, recording Tuesdays and Wednesdays and putting them out during the week. And I hope to get some feedback from all the people out there. Like I say, like, comment, subscribe. You can send email to my email box. It's info@endtimemedia.ca. I'd be more than happy to read your letters and respond back to any letters that come to me about anything, or any topics you might want to suggest for the show, or any sort of criticism or any sort of input you want to give to me, I would appreciate it. We have, like I said, the website is in www.inlightmedia.ca. It's a work in progress. I'm still working on building it up because I'm hoping to do a lot more things besides the podcast. I'm looking at doing entertainment, like with the karaoke business. I also had a recording business I was doing with me when I hooked to start just as sort of an amateur thing, recording my brother and his friend Doug Comedy's performances, the band Sweet Home Chicago, for many of the performances. I got a channel on YouTube. Check it out, Sweet Home Chicago. I got two different. I got Sweet Home Chicago. I think one's called Archives, I believe, is the other one I set up, because I created another channel later on that's not got any subscribers yet. It's not monetized at all. I have a monetized and non-monetized channel. The monetized channel, Sweet Home Chicago, is the original channel. Then the second channel, Sweet Home Chicago Archives, was set up recently. Really attempted trying to put things that are more long-form videos there rather than the short-form ones I put on the original channel. I have the My Two Loonies channel, and I hope to launch a couple more channels with other things and maybe other people performing besides myself. I hope to get some other talent involved and build this into some sort of little enterprise here. I mean, I see people out there that have done it, that have been in the business for quite a while. I can't see why I couldn't do the same thing, even though I'm starting off a little later in life than many of them were. But I'm hoping to do things. And so, as I said, like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends about me. Tell your friends about this channel if you think there's a valuable lesson to be learned, or even if I'm just entertaining. Even if you just find me entertaining and something, listen to me, even if it gives you a good chuckle, that's it. If it makes you laugh, then at least I've accomplished something. If I get you to think along the lines, that's a bonus. So anyway, with that thing, I'm Mike, and this is my two links for the week. It's the 20th, I believe, of May. Coming into May, we're coming into June soon. And I hope to, like I said, make regular recordings. I want to eventually go to 2 days a week, but let's get into 1 day a week. Let's see if we can build up some subscribers here, build up some interest in this thing, and encourage me and get me more motivated to do more recordings more frequently. And let's build this up. Anyway, take care and talk to you soon. Bye for now.